something gives, exercise gives.
Yeah.
And, what I realise now is that tiredness and the association that has with food is significant.
Okay.
Because midnight you'd say, I'm a bit hungry, whatever.
Yeah.
You'd go, and the natural gravitation towards sugar is there. And so weight was starting to pile up again. Yeah, even though I'd lost it.
Right.
So, and, then I was trying things like, Insanity. I don't know if you guys have heard of that.
Yes.
Yeah, my gosh. And great as that is, my gosh, the impact it was having on my body, I didn't realise.
Okay.
Because you're just jumping around and bouncing around and, the effect that has on your knees and everything else, and you're doing it at home. It's not a cushioned floor,
right?
The vibration going through your body is significant.
Wow.
So I was getting knee pain and all that kind of stuff.
Welcome to Real People, Real Results, Real Change, the podcast that's dedicated to helping real people develop real health and fitness in their lives. Real people like you. Business owners, professionals, house husbands and housewives, and students. I'm Stefan, I'm a personal wellness coach at YouFit Studio, and I'll be your host. This episode I'm talking with Minesh Solanki, entrepreneur and father of two. Minesh has a passion for learning and development, always aiming to become a better person for those around him. In this episode, we talk about optimising progress on a health and fitness journey and some of the ups and downs people often encounter. Okay, Minesh, it's great to be sat here talking with you. I can't wait to hear more about your story. So where did this all start? Right, you've been on a health, fitness, mindset journey for a long time, right? Things weren't how they are now back then, right?
No, definitely not how they are right now.
Okay.
I would say that it's been a really interesting journey of kind of ups and downs.
Okay.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
I've always kind of struggled with weight issues from an early age.
Okay.
And, never really known how to kind of deal with it.
Yeah.
And, I think there's a lot more opportunity now to be educated around stuff than there was even as far back as 2005,
right.
2004, whatever.
Yeah.
And the availability of information now to be able to educate yourself is a lot easier to access than it was back then. But, I think, yes, I've always had issues, but I think there's a pivot point. And there's probably, in kind of the last 20 years, there's probably been a number of pivot points.
Right.
2005 was definitely one of them.
Okay.
So...
What was happening?
Well, I was, at the time, I'm an accountant by profession at that point, although I'm an entrepreneur now. I was working for one of the big four. I was travelling. And I fell fairly ill on a trip to Guernsey, of all places. And I wasn't great, and it so happened that I had a gallbladder issue.
Right.
Fast forward, gallbladder's out, and that was a pivot point because at that point, doctors saying you need to do something. Your diet's not right. And I would say that's probably the first pivot point, and it's not the only one because there's been others as well.
Yeah.
At that time, just about to get married, I thought, okay, well, good time to get yourself back into shape as well.
Yeah.
Getting ready for wedding, all that kind of stuff. Went to the gym, and it's interesting we talk about learning about fitness and stuff, but back then it was like you join a gym, you go to the gym, you maybe get some sort of induction, and not to take away from the guys that were inducting me, but then you kind of left to it a bit.
Yes.
They give you a program, it's written on a piece of paper, and you kind of left to it, and it's just like, okay, you do it, and because that accountability is not there. You're accountable for yourself. The young guy, not as accountable.
Yeah.
He's thinking, I'll take a shortcut here or a shortcut there.
Yeah.
And, it used to be the theory of, going to the gym, just jump on a cardio machine of some sort, and do something. And, I did, lost some weight and got a bit of guidance around what to do with food. But like I say, you don't have the tools that you have now to be able to control that.
Right.
And so that went okay. And once again, it's a yo-yo effect. Lose a bit of weight, gain a bit of weight, lose a bit of weight. Got married, first son, lose a bit of weight, gain a bit of weight kind of thing.
Yeah.
Tried different things. Left my corporate world job and decided that I was going to do my own thing. Thought, oh yeah, great, I'm going to be kind of having my own time now. I can spend a bit more time on myself.
Okay, interesting.
Actually, it's the reverse.
Right.
Because business became so busy, you spend less time on you because now you're having to balance your life with building a business as well as a young family.
Yeah.
It's something gives.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of demands in different directions.
100%, because the business was growing at such a rate that you're trying to keep that going. You're traveling a lot more. You're working a lot more because you don't have a team.
Right.
You have a team of people, but you don't have infrastructure because it's new. Everything's new.
Yeah.
Structure's new. You can't just say to, like, now if I want something doing, I go, X, can you please help me with that? Can you do that for me?
Yeah.
Or that kind of thing, the delegation. But then there was nothing. It's like, right, got to do something. I'm just going to jump in and do it. And, sometimes that meant working till 1, 2 in the morning, waking up early, going again and again. Something gives, exercise gives.
Yeah.
And, what I realise now is the tiredness and the association that has with food is significant.
Okay.
Because midnight you'd say, I'm a bit hungry, whatever.
Yeah.
You'd go, and the natural gravitation towards sugar is there. And so weight was starting to pile up again. Yeah, even though I'd lost it.
Right.
So, and, then I was trying things like, Insanity. I don't know if you guys have heard of that.
Yes.
Yeah, my gosh. And great as that is, my gosh, the impact it was having on my body, I didn't realise.
Okay.
Because you're just jumping around and bouncing around and, the effect that has on your knees and everything else, and you're doing it at home. It's not a cushioned floor.
Right.
The vibration going through your body is significant.
Wow.
So I was getting knee pain and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. This is online Insanity classes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, just then it wasn't even online. It was a set of
like
DVDs.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Okay,
it's like that's saying something, right? Because like, oh god, get the DVD in first thing in the morning, do an Insanity class. You'd be like dripping sweat.
Yeah.
And but you didn't realise the impact it was having on your joints and and so as much as I'd do all of that stuff, the one thing that I wasn't piecing together was the association of in versus out.
Yes.
Food versus training versus intake, all that kind of. Funnily enough, the stuff that I should actually know, being an accountant. but even in even in the 2008, 9, 10, 2012, 13, 14, things like MyFitnessPal weren't as well known.
No.
So people were obviously doing it because they was getting their little diary out and writing, I've had this today, and I think that's how many calories it is, but it's nowhere near as scientific as it is today.
Right.
And so weight was piling on, and this time it wasn't me walking into hospital, it was me being taken to hospital in an ambulance.
Really?
Okay, so now I've got 2 little ones, wife at home, growing business, and what the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
And that was probably the most powerful one, of the two. So that's pivot number 2.
Mm.
And I remember coming home, right, and we had 2 little ones at home. My wife couldn't come to see me at the hospital. I was there for like 2-3 days.
Okay.
Right, so she couldn't come.
Yeah.
But I remember quite vividly what happened, and it was so powerful in my mind that actually I had to do something. Yeah. Because when you walk home and you see 2 little ones and you're just like, what have I just put at risk here?
Right.
Yeah.
Because do you mind me asking what you were admitted with? Like what kind of health issue?
It was still associated with the gallbladder.
Okay.
But it was acute pancreatitis.
Right.
Now, I don't drink. Yeah. And they were like, you must drink. And I was like, I don't drink.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was associated with the fact that I had my gallbladder removed.
Okay.
So something had to change. And it all comes down to diet.
Right.
And it's really easy to sit there, Asian guy, what kind of food do you eat at home? High fat, it's typical of the kind of diet that most Asian families probably still do have.
Yeah.
And some kind of are evolving into something a bit more healthier now.
Yeah.
But I remember my wife's face when I came home, and it was, I can still it's still kind of quite vivid in my mind.
Yes.
And when I look back now, there were certain things that just weren't right. Was I efficient in what I was doing at work? Was I present for my kids? Was I able to play with them in the way that I'm playing with them even now? And the risk element of all of that was significant in my mind.
Yeah.
And so what is beginning as a health journey is going to evolve into something completely different. And, all I can say is my wife said to me, you've got to sort your out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, quite literally. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. But it was finding the right thing that was really important for me. I knew that I couldn't do insanity because it gave me so many pains. I knew that just going and joining a gym was not the right answer because I couldn't be held accountable for my own actions.
Right.
In the sense that they can give you a program, but it needed to be more than that.
Yeah.
And as I've gone through, I've realised that actually to understand that was really important. Because when you're leading, and everybody's busy in their own right, but when you're leading such a busy lifestyle, sometimes you have to delegate by paying people to give you that accountability to an extent.
Yeah.
And I started looking for somebody.
Yeah.
Or something. And it was my wife who said, individual X who we know goes to this location, which happens to be UFIT.
Yeah.
Why don't you go and have a look? It's like sitting there. You look at it. You go on the website one day. You look at it. Shall I press that button? You don't press it.
Yep.
Do it again. Don't press it.
Yep.
And then one day I was like, right, I just got to do it. And I pressed the button. I went to see what it was all about. And I was pretty much sold there and then.
Okay.
Now, I don't know why. I look back and I do know why, but then I didn't know why.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah. It was almost like there was a drag of some sort, a pull. And I would say that was probably pivot number 3. In that, it was probably fairly life-changing. There's a few life-changing events, right? But from a health perspective, not just fitness, but health and mindset perspective, that, although I didn't know it then, but that meeting was significant.
Okay.
really significant.
And in what way? So what's changed? What's it enabled you to do? And just to be clear, so you're talking about a fitness studio that is a combo of gym with in-house training and coaching with a high level of accountability.
Yeah.
So not just about coaching around your fitness, but around nutrition, mindset, lifestyle.
Correct.
Those
But the mindset thing wasn't even in my mind when I went the first time. It was just about being in a position whereby I was healthier.
Okay. Yep.
And there's certain parts of that first kind of meeting that are quite vivid, but there's other parts that are not.
Yeah.
I remember the pull, the drag, whatever it is, that was quite strong in terms of this was right for me. And it was all about what I could become, you know, and the guidance and the accountability was going to be strong. I.e., you need to put in as much as I'm going to put in, kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then I probably didn't realise how important that's going to be in terms of some of the challenges that are going to come later on, in terms of everything.
Okay.
Right. So I started on this journey with Sam, and it was really difficult. Right, but the accountability was high. I could see results as well.
Okay.
My family could see results.
Right.
But other things were changing as well. You know, at the time there was a lot of different business things going on. And so it's almost like chasing a rabbit, isn't it? How many rabbits do you chase? One or several?
Yeah.
And so my mind was becoming more focused around what I wanted to do more than anything else. It was great to be involved in loads of different things.
Yeah.
And the amount of learning, you know, that I went through. And, you know, there's, apart from Sam, there are other people that are really important in terms of this journey as well. My business partners in particular are, like, the stuff I've learned from these guys is incredible, you know. And so there's almost like mentoring going on without me even knowing it's going on, if that makes any sense. It's kind of just happening.
Yeah.
You know, so I've got like somebody doing my health and fitness stuff. I've got some really good business partners who've got fantastic backgrounds that are helping me build a business, you know. And all of that was starting to kind of happen and come together.
Yeah.
But I think that the health and fitness part was so important as well because of the kind of, I want to say the word leader that I wanted to become. Because it wasn't just about growth and business. Yeah. It was about everything.
Yeah. Because what kind of business do you
Retail.
Retail. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, right now it's about 100 odd people plus working for me. So it's not small. Yeah. But it's grown in a short space of time. Yeah. So it's moved at such a rate.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you were saying, like, so high levels of demand on you, know, as well as the business in general. And so what are some takeaways from the things that you've experienced and you've it's really interesting, like when I talk with people, you know, we talk about, you know, how a coach helped us through that, or a partner helped us through that, and you know, mentoring and things, but you're at the center of that, and you are taking on ideas, taking on advice, and you're having to integrate that into your life, right? Yeah. So you're still pivotal yourself, right? You're central in that. You're driving things, even when you don't always, not always aware that you are, or you know, you're waiting for the right things that go. yeah, that clicks with me. I get that, and that's how I'm going to do that, or that's how, even if we're delegating, right? We're choosing that, we're prioritising what
Correct.
to delegate. Okay,
Yeah.
so what would you say to other professionals, and specifically other business owners who are in a position where you were a few years ago, right? Where it's just the demands are huge, their fitness, their personal health, their well-being is on the back seat. And they're at risk of what you were experiencing, those health issues, those wake-up calls, those pivotal moments. Like, what can someone do to start figuring out how to, put this into place in their own life?
There's an element of self-realisation that you need to do it. What can somebody do to fix it? They've got to know that there are others that know better, right? And that the one thing you've got to know, one thing they've got to have is that ability to learn and become a better person. If they already feel like they're there, they're not going to have that self-realisation at all. Right. That's my view.
Yeah.
I think, any good leader should want to learn and continue learning, whether they are in the business year 1 or year 15 or wherever it might be.
Yeah.
And becoming better yourself can only make those around you better.
Yeah.
There's and it's the health and fitness then goes into that kind of whole mindset element as well. Because things like meditation, relaxation, it's not just about going in and powering through a workout, which quite happily I will do. Yeah. But you read a lot of stories about how some of the greatest leaders, how they have so much structure in their day.
Yes.
From the minute they wake up to the minute they go to sleep, and those things are. You can be a success, absolutely, without having those, as long as you are that focused on the business.
Yeah.
But that structure is giving you balance.
Yeah.
In my mind, so it's like, for me, it's you get up, you journal, I hop on the bike for half an hour, kind of thing. I get my kids to school. I'm in the office for 8:30. I don't need to be there, but I am. I have a to-do list, that I want to get through. I use techniques around procrastination or not procrastinating, like 25 minutes and then take a break kind of stuff if I'm going to be quite heavy into some work. At the same time, I know that there's going to be curveballs. I also know that there are days when I'll have 20 items on my list and only one will get ticked because my phone's been ringing off the hook. And there's that self-realisation that you're not going to get to that bottom of that list. But at the same time, I know I want to leave the office to get home to see my kids, say goodnight to them. And I think gone are those days where I get home and I can't work again. Actually, some of that time now is I get home, kids have gone to sleep. And prior to this journey, I would have probably said, I'll sit and play PlayStation, or I'd watch TV for hours on end, or whatever, right? Now it's a case of, okay, what can I learn? How can I make myself better?
Right.
And if that's reading, then it's reading. If that's doing some sort of course or whatever it might be, then I'll do that. But I always feel like it's not just about giving back to the business. It's about actually, am I going to learn something that I can teach my kids as well? And about whether that be about mindset or meditation. And until I was here, I wasn't doing any of that stuff.
Right.
And what I found is the training aside, the mindset element of it, how that has helped me deal with probably some of the most stressful issues that I've faced. I think if I didn't have that, or I didn't have that foundation, I don't think I would have dealt with it in half as effectively as I did.
Right.
And equally for my team, they've been through some really tough times. COVID in particular, tough for everybody. But what was my team is fairly young, and one of the things that I had to deal with was that I had one of my senior team members decide to take their own life. During COVID. which
wow.
is significant.
Yes.
But it's not to say that, you know, what do you learn from it? It was like, well, how do you deal with that? If I can't deal with it, how can I help my team deal with it?
Yeah.
And so all of these different layers that I'd built up helped me deal with it more effectively than probably I would have dealt with it, you know, in version 1 of myself.
Yeah.
And I think I've started to think about how, and probably over the last few years with the journey that I've been on, that I actually think about version 1, version 2, version 3, 4, 5.
Right.
You know, and okay, you know, there are certain things that nothing's perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, sitting here, am I where I want to be in my weight loss journey or my fitness journey? Absolutely not. Right. Because life has happened as well.
Yeah.
And there's loads of stuff going on. And is it as perfect as I'd like it to be? No, it's not. But there's a lot to balance at the same time as well.
Yeah.
And I think if I didn't have those bases, those foundations to be able to balance it effectively, I'd probably be in a very different place right now again, with all of the stresses that have been going on. So it's been, I think, going back to your question, why would you want to do something like this? I think it makes you a more balanced individual, and I would say that I've got, although I work really hard, I've probably got quite a good balance. Yeah, something's got to give. Yeah. Right. So I can't sit there and watch Netflix for 4 hours, right, or whatever. Yeah. But you know, if I'm sitting on a bike and I want to catch up on something on Netflix, I'll quite happily do that. Yeah. That's, you know, doing two things at the same time. Yeah. Difference is I'm not doing it at 9 o'clock at night. I'm doing it at 6 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. Kind of thing. Yeah. But I think it's all about being a much more rounded individual, and funnily enough, performance has come with that as well, in terms of not just my own performance, but also in business as well, and how you think about it, right? And slowing down some of the thinking, accelerating some of the thinking, the decision making. Yeah. You know, sometimes when you're that under pressure, if your mind's not in the game, you might make a rash decision. Yeah. Yeah. And so I think that time to kind of breathe and go, is that the right thing to do or not? Yeah. You know, is really important. Yeah. Amazing. Okay. Minesh, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to speak with you. Good speaking to you. I really hope we get a chance to do this again soon. Thank you.